Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's on DisneyPlus.com. I'm here with Liz, who is a production designer on the brand new Disney Plus original film World's Best. So, Liz, could you give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself and what projects people might know you from?
So I actually, I've recently just finished a project with Levantine Films, who produced Hidden Figures. Um, I am a production designer in Toronto. The shows that I've done, actually, I think a new show is just about to release on CW on July 24th, called Son of a Critch, which was produced by the same people who produced Schitt's Creek.
Mhm.
And I guess the other design projects I have all, I guess there's a BuzzFeed show that I did as well, called One Up,
Yeah.
which is a feature. And then I did, before that, I did a lot of art direction for bigger shows like C and other, productions. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, I saw Designated Survivor was on your list.
Yes,
Is that
I
was
was gonna say Designated Survivor, and yeah, that was so long ago, so it feels like it's really a long time ago. I'd
yeah,
say,
no,
like, season 2 was the biggest show, that I worked on.
that's
Um,
cool. And with regards to World's Best, what was what was your role on the film?
I'm the production designer,
Yeah.
so I am in charge of the visual look of the show. Everything from the props to the set decoration to the construction, and the paint, all the murals, all the sets.
That's cool. How did you come up with the overall look of World's Best?
So I think I took a deep dive into kind of late 80s, early 90s hip hop.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of the ideas and inspirations and head nods came from that period. It was a period of hip hop that what I call party hip hop. It was really fun. It was really colorful, full of saturated colors. Um, a lot of interesting camera work. So I think we all kind of gravitated to this area of hip hop, and that's that was our starting point, really.
That's cool. One of the things that was really kind of cool about the film is it has a giant boombox. How did that whole idea come about?
So interesting enough, on this show, the director and I, we spent and the DP, we spent so much time together. It was such a really roundtable collaborative experience. And Roshan had some very specific hip hop ideas that he wanted to add to the show, and he did originally show us a shot of a scene from Dave, where there was
Okay.
a rap sequence happening, and there was a sort of podium there. But he wanted something that would have a real reveal, so that he wanted something that would spin, or yeah, something that would just reveal the Manny and Utkarsh to the audience. And well, it just sort of, in terms of the logistics of the space we had and the timing we had, um, one of the things I saw when I was doing my research was this amazing photo of LL Cool J coming out of a giant boombox. And if you find that picture, it's really quite funny, because it didn't really have he's coming out of it, and people are actually holding it up, the doorway up with their hands, and you can actually see a couple of arms there. And so yeah, so I showed Roshan the picture, and he was just so excited about it. And then that was pretty much the birth of that giant boombox. And then everybody got so involved with it. Like, the construction team was super excited about it. That the wiremen, everybody had great ideas about how to light it and make the volume buttons work. And yeah, it was super fun. Everybody enjoyed building that.
That's cool. With World's Best, how long were you did it take for you to kind of work on this project?
So we started we had about 7 weeks of prep, and then 6 weeks of shooting.
Oh,
So yeah, I start a bit earlier because I start with the location manager, and we start looking for all the locations um, before Singh and Roshan arrived. So yeah, that was kind of um,
Cool.
the start.
Uh,
And
and with this
oh,
and with
sorry.
this one, that's okay. What has been one of your biggest highlights working on World's Best?
Um, I'd have to say the collaboration with Singh and Roshan. Um, we really sat down and we spent a lot of time. Like we shot lists together. We I threw all the designs on the table so that we could talk about them, talk about how we like them, and it was just such an incredible collaborative experience. I really liked working that way, and I would work with Roshan on every show. He's great. And then, yeah, I think that would be the highlight of the show for me, just how collaborative, and everybody was collaborative. You know, the producers, Kate Sullivan, and even our line producer Terry Gould. Like everybody had great ideas and collaboration, and so easygoing about it, and we all just could put our we could everybody built the show, if you will, like we all with ideas, and it just sort of stepped on, like with steps leading up, we just sort of grew the show together.
That's cool. And what was your biggest challenge working on the film?
um there were a couple. um, One of the first challenge we had that I was thinking about this morning was when when we decided to do the show, we had earlier decided to start it a little later, and school would have been out. But the show was pulled up a little bit to accommodate. Ukars had another show that he was shooting in Montreal, and we had to find a school that wasn't well, we couldn't use a regular school because it wasn't summer, basically. And we had to try to find a school that could accommodate us. And we had so many days shooting in a school. And so looking for that school was really the biggest challenge of hunting for locations. And we searched all over. Like I saw all the schools, and a lot of them were not available, or I'm talking about abandoned schools or
Yeah.
empty schools. And so what I did is I started going online and I just started looking for every abandoned school in Ontario. And eventually, I found this school that Delta is actually the name of the school we used for the high school. Um, and it had been abandoned in 2019. And I wasn't sure if it was broken down already or razed to the ground, or they built condos or whatever, but it was actually empty, completely empty, and it looked like everybody had just dropped their things and walked away. The books were still there, the equipment in the gyms were still there, everything was still there. So it was like walking through a completely abandoned school, but with
Weird.
everything still in it. And that ended up being both our schools. We used like the new side of the school for one of the for the high school, and we used the old side of the school for the junior high. And then because it was empty, I had the incredible luck that I could just paint it and do whatever I wanted to it. So I was able to paint the junior school to be super colorful and put lots of murals in there and make it more playful, and then to paint the high school to have like a slightly um, stronger, tougher look to it. And yeah, that's how it worked. Both gyms were there. And, it was really, one gym was upstairs, one gym was downstairs, and that finale scene is in the big gym downstairs. And the first scene that opens the movie is in the upstairs gym, which was a smaller gym.
That's quite incredible. And you said like you filmed it in Ontario, Canada. And did you have to go through like lots of stages, like try to make it look more like an American school, or do Canada schools look like that anyway?
Well, interestingly enough, about that school, it really looked like an American school. It was, I think when everybody walked in there, they were like so shocked at
Yeah.
how almost it was just so great. I mean, I had to redo a lot of things because of, clearances and stuff, but like we could have walked into that gym and shot that finale exactly the way that gym was. But then, we repainted it and put new logos up and things like that. But yeah, it was great. it did have its own problems because it was one floor down. So, and there was no access, like there was no outdoor access. So carrying the camera equipment was a little problematic. But outside of that, it was really the perfect space.
That's
And
cool.
the upstairs gym, we painted like literally floor to ceiling, and redid entirely. So yeah,
That's
yeah,
cool.
it was really an American kind of feel to it, and already.
That's cool. And obviously the film is out now on Disney Plus. Were you like excited or terrified when that one came out so everyone could actually finally see it?
Oh, I was so excited. And I actually when I literally texted the director and I said, "I can't stop watching the musical numbers. They're so good." They were just so great, and the choreography was fabulous. Bradley Rapier was just he did a great job, and together with the design, I think the musical numbers are just the highlight of the show. So I was really happy to see it finally because
That's
it,
cool.
yeah.
And my final question, which I ask everybody, is and we're going to disallow World's Best on this one, but what has been your favorite Disney Plus original so far?
Oh, my favorite Disney Plus original. Well, oh, I guess there's that's interesting. I think the most I mean, American Born Chinese
Yeah,
was something that I've watched recently and I loved. I'm part Asian, so I think it was just really great to see that. Yeah, I think that one would be my super
yeah.
fun series and lots of things to look at, and yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
I
excited.
love that one as well. It's great to have something completely different. Yeah, I absolutely love that one. An amazing cast, and it just looks fantastic. So, again, thank you so much for taking your time out to speak to us about World's Best, which you can find right now on Disney Plus. Again, thank you so much.